the station where our veterans' voices are heard, MBR Talk.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. Welcome, Quack.
Program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Welcome to Freedom Chat, where real Americans speak their minds. And no topic is off limits. No scripts, no judgment, just honest conversation, raw, unfiltered, and free. If you're ready to challenge the narrative and celebrate true freedom, you're in the right place. This is Freedom Chat.
Good morning. All right, right off the bat, we've got Danny Corbin, the D-Man, right up there. And we've got my mom, Phyllis. I want to start this with the Pledge of Allegiance. Y'all can say it along with me, or you can just let me do it. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all. So I think we're going to start that from now on. I think that's a good way to start these chats. Happy Easter, everybody.
Happy Easter. Good morning.
This is a far cry than what we had last year, where the former president basically spit on the face of every Christian in the United States of America. If you guys don't remember, he made last year a trans whatever day, which was just insane that he did
the White House.
Considering that he's supposed, considering the guy's supposed to be a Catholic. I don't know about y'all, but I know some Catholics. I'm related by marriage to a couple of Catholics, and they don't agree with that.
No, far from that.
Okay. All right, so I'm gonna kick this off. I'm gonna just throw the gauntlet at this one. A fairly prominent news, Wall Street Journal. They've got some valid positions, right? They did an article on the transgender bill that is currently under consideration by the House in Colorado. For those of you who live in Colorado who don't know what I'm talking about, it is HB 25-1312. Okay, the gist of this bill is that it would force parents to affirm the gender identity of a child, and I'm going to make sure people understand. I am not talking about 17, 18, 19-year-old teenagers, even though I think that they would need help more than affirmation, so to speak. I am talking about first graders and lower. We're talking about 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-olds. When they get into their early teens, I always tell people, I don't like middle schoolers because I think they've got an overabundance of hormones and a complete lack of brain cells. And that makes them really, really tough to deal with because they're trying to deal with their own crap and trying to figure out what they were doing. So this bill is basically designed to force parents to affirm something that they might not believe. They are basically going to force parents to abandon their religious beliefs, if this is their religious beliefs. So this is a violation of freedom of religion, if you want to take it that road. And it's insanity. They can take, if this bill becomes a law in the state of Colorado, it will give the state of Colorado permission to take custody of children based on dead naming. I didn't even know what the hell that was until I read the bill.
Right.
Refusing to acknowledge the kid's perceived gender. The the gender identity. Okay, you know what? Half of these people, these kids, don't understand what their identity is, let alone gender. So that's what's frustrating about it. Now, what is scary about it, we talked about this last week. I want to hit this, and I want to make sure people understand. This is a snapshot of the United States of America if we, as Americans, don't start using our heads when we vote. Because the supermajority, the majority that resides in Colorado, although geographically it is not blue, it's blue. Politically, it's a blue state. They can cram whatever bill they want right down the throats of Coloradans, and there's nothing that the right can say about it. Why is this frustrating to me? Because with that kind of power, there should be a degree of responsibility, and these people wield it like it's a freaking gun. So I kind of want y'all's position on this, and then we're going to move on to the next. I don't want to brush on this one, but I did want to hit it. So we'll start with Dennis.
You know, well, the dead naming thing, I mean, I don't know why they just didn't say birth name. Because that's basically that's what it is. What are they going to come up with some kind of scary word for it? I mean, you know, come on. So that's stupid right there. But yeah, we can't allow a parental right, a basic parental right, to be stripped because of this woke nonsense. It's completely ridiculous and needs to be nipped in the bud ASAP.
It should be, but it's not going to be because there's too many. That's the agenda that they have that they're pushing. As far as I'm concerned, any thing pushed on little kids, and that includes middle schoolers, that lets them change their gender, so to speak, which is ridiculous, is another way of spaying and neutering the country. And it's a way of getting the parents, if you get into a divorce and you have a kid that all of a sudden has gone to school and they decide, well, I want to be whatever, and that's what the parent that goes along with that takes to the courts, then the other parent loses their rights. That's what will happen with this law.
And it's scary because it's happening in other states. Minnesota's
California.
Minnesota's got a bill that is very similar to what they're wanting to do, and there is a father who is doing everything he can to fight it, and it's really difficult for him to fight it because the minute that it's in law, hey, take it to the Supreme Court and challenge its constitutionality. That's what I would say. So that's what I would say. We're going to have to take all of this to the Supreme Court. I'm not sure that I trust all of the Supreme Court and their mess. I just don't trust them at all. So, you know, this is a warning for Americans that if a party gets too much power and too much control, and the balance is slanted and too deep, it's real hard to bring that back. Part of what our founders insisted on having for us was balance. They understood that. I mean, I've mentioned this numerous times. Washington warned the American people not just of his day, but of today, the dangers of party politics and party affiliation and party loyalty, and how if one party gains too much control, they will become abusive.
The two-party system is not working.
No, and we can kind of take that a little further. It isn't just that they become abusive. I personally think that conservatives tend to not be as abusive as the left, because I believe that the left is obsessed with power and control, and I do not believe in any way, shape, or form that they have any interest in the best interests of this country. I don't believe that they have American people's best interests in mind. And I mean, look at how many things we've seen over the past 8 years, 7 years, that you look and you go, wait, make that make sense. The Biden administration has been proven to have spied on Americans, which is a violation of our Fourth Amendment, and with the assistance of big tech and social media, censorship, which is a violation of our First Amendment. For those of you who do not know what our First Amendment is, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free excuse thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Okay, that's the First Amendment. And the Fourth Amendment is the right of the people to be secure in their persons, homes, papers, effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon principal cause supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. So those two amendments we've watched our previous administration regime step all over numerous times. And I used to have this fight with my wife about especially the Fourth Amendment. You guys have heard that old saying, if you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear. My response to that is, yeah, you're right if you're in Russia. You're right if you were in Nazi Germany at the time. You're right if you're in CCP. If you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear. But the problem with that is you probably always have something to hide because you're always in a state of fear. And they managed to make this country look like that. They arrested and imprisoned people for their loyalty to President Trump, Steve Bannon being one of them. And I will give those guys credit, Steve Bannon being the most visible one, Roger Stone being another one. And I will give those men kudos because they did not cave. They told the truth. The committee that imprisoned them and sentenced them could not make them back down. And I think that integrity like that should be applauded. And I don't care what anybody else says. So we know what that we know what that regime did. We know what they were about. How do we fix that moving forward? Because to date, we haven't seen the mainstream media even touch the subject.
No, and the mainstream media isn't going to, because they're part of it.
Which is pretty sad. I mean, it really is pretty sad that they don't understand how important, how dangerous it is to squash an opposing voice, which goes right back to what I started this talk about. If one side has the ability to squash another side from even expressing where they stand, then we don't have a government. We have a dictatorship. We have a totalitarian state form of government. Right now, in Colorado.
You're mistaken, Mark. They do understand it perfectly well. That's why they're doing it.
Mom, I'm not talking about the people that are doing it. I'm talking about everybody else. That's
you mean the
what we're
idiots.
fighting right now. Is how do you get brainwashed people to open their eyes and wake up? That's the challenge, folks. How do we do that?
Dennis watched the same thing I did on the Make Colorado Red Again.
Mm-hmm.
those people are idiots
Yep.
protesting. Remember,
All right,
Dennis?
we're going
Yeah.
to take a break. We're gonna take a break. We're gonna listen to a song. When we come back, we are going to discuss our illegal alien situation, and we're going to cover a couple of things in that. So we'll be right back.
Been 10 years since I'd seen his face. Not much had changed, just a different time, different place. When I shook his hand, I knew something had changed. This was a different man from the one I knew back then. That's when he said, "We do the goals." Yes, I stand in line and watch the flag wave and bright. You see, this is what I do. Yes, I bleed red, white, and blue. He told me the tales of his journeys far away. 3 times gone and land most only see on the front page. With honor and glory, he stood so tall and fought for you and I, so we could be free from it all. That's when he said, "We do the goals." Yes, I stand in line and watch the flag wave and pride. You see, this is what I do. Yes, I bleed red, white, and blue. We do the goals. Yes, I stand in line and watch the flag wave and bright. You see, this is what I do. Yes, I bleed. This is what I do. Yes, I bleed. Oh, this is what I do. Yes, I bleed. Red, white, and blue.
The station where our veterans' voices are heard, MBR Talk.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. Welcome, Quack.
Program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
The web at mbradio.com.
All right, we are back. That was a cool song. Dennis, you got to pick the next one. So, while we're having this chat, kind of glance over, see if there's one. There's one I kind of want to check out, but it can wait until the last break. All right, so
Okay.
let's get right into illegal aliens. Shall we?
Yes,
I'm going to
please.
start with this. Okay, Section 235B 1A is a NINA law signed by Bill Clinton. It is based on aliens who claim to be U.S. citizens, lawful permanent residents, admitted refugees, or persons who have been granted asylum. President Clinton signed this law directing the implementing agency to provide by regulation or prompt review of an expedited removal order in these circumstances, which involve persons who claim to have some legal foothold an immigration officer must attempt to verify a claim of U.S. citizenship, LPR status, which is lawful permanent resident, refugee status, or asylee status for asylum seekers, before the officer can issue an expedited order of removal. The verification process includes a check of all available DHS data systems and any other means available to the office. And it goes through this and explains how this guy from El Salvador has been identified multiple times as a gang member, number one. It has identified him as an illegal alien, number two. He was deported once, I believe, in 2019. That's just hilarious. And he was allowed back in by our esteemed President Joe Biden. For those of you who want proof of what this bill says, you can actually find it on www.congress.gov/CRS product/R5314. So I have just provided the resource that proves that this is the law and that everything that Tom Homan and the people that he is working with are within their purview. They're within a purview to go after all illegal aliens, no matter what their ages are, no matter any of that. You came into this country illegally, you cheated everybody who didn't. That's the bottom line. And for a United States Senator Cory Booker and this guy Van Hollen to literally bark and scream at the top of their lungs about an illegal alien, who are they supposed to be serving? That's the $1 million question. Who is your oath to?
Well, and he was found by two different judges to be MS-13 gang member. It wasn't just one judge; it was two, at least.
Correct. But the question goes back to the oath of office. Congressional senators' oath of office is to the American people. It's to the Constitution of the United States. Nowhere in that, and nowhere in the Constitution does it discuss Ukraine or El Salvador or Mexico or Argentina or any one of these nations that these people have come from, all over the world, actually. And so for a senator to fly on taxpayer dollars, by the way, because he called it an official act, which means our money paid for that flight to El Salvador. And I'm telling you, it just blows me away what we watch and how we watch it and where it goes from.
It's just showboating and propaganda is all it is.
It is. It's completely insane. Mom, where do you stand? And then I'm going to get into the mainstream media and what they have done concerning this whole thing. They've propped this guy up to be their little hero.
Where I stand, I think they should leave him in El Salvador. That's where he belongs.
Yeah.
And both those senators, Cory Booker and that other guy, the one that went down there, and any others which were planning on going down there, are actually breaking their oath of office to the United States, in my opinion.
No, it's not an opinion. It's a fact. I don't care that he's married to an American citizen. Honestly, I don't care. If you're married to an American citizen, maybe you should have followed the rules closer. And I know that there are people out there who are trying to follow the rules, and I empathize with those people. And I hope that they keep following the rules. But in this case, the only people following the rules are the Trump administration, to be quite frank. We're the only ones that are following those rules.
I found a tidbit. I was going to read to you. It says under Obama, over 3 million people were deported, but 75 to 83% of them never saw a judge or had a chance to plead their case. Most were removed through expedited processes at the border. No court hearing, no trial. So they're saying that a lot of it happened before they could even get into the country.
Okay, so once again, does that prove that it's not the what, but it's the who?
Right, it does.
They are hell-bent on doing everything they can to get in the way of and to criticize and to embarrass this president of the United States. That is not what our government was ever intended to do. But they do it on a regular basis. I mean, we've watched our good friend Jamie Raskin get out there in front of the camera and just chirp like a little parakeet, man. My mom used to have a parakeet, so she knows what I'm talking about. Just lose that damn bird, lose its mind. Here's a quote from one of the guys that I follow. His name is Joey Manario. Democrats refuse to meet angel moms, but will literally fly to foreign nations to meet with MS-13 gang members, wife beaters, and human traffickers. If you people out there who vote Democrat haven't figured out that they don't like you, that they don't want you, that all they're interested in is your vote. They have no interest in you. Try to understand that. I keep talking. I talk to people that are on the left all the time. And the first thing that I tell them is, have you done your due diligence? Have you done your research? Well, I was watching the news. Well, then the answer is no, you didn't do your research. I mean, it's just a fact of the life, a fact that they don't do their research. And the media, especially the mainstream, make it that much more difficult. Because the fact of the matter is, Trump coming into becoming whatever it is that they just promoted him to, they start asking questions about this MS-13 gang member. Trump starts reading the facts about this guy, and instead of finishing the whole thing up with watching him, MSNBC just panned away from it. And you can't sit there and claim, well, we just don't want to acknowledge any of his lies. Well, I mean, surprisingly enough, he doesn't. He might be a blowhard, and he might be a bragger, but he's truthful more than he's not. And it's frustrating for me because I have to work around people like that will just be fed this information and will just eat it all up and eat it all up and eat it all up. And it's just, it's not, we as Americans have got to start becoming more educated, more self-educated. One of the things that I admire about President Washington was that he was a much more self-educated man than the men that he served with throughout his presidency and his service to his country. He read a lot on his own. I think that people that do that tend to have a degree of intelligence that is higher than just going into a school and doing a lecture, because you're showing a willingness to educate yourself.
There's from what I've seen on any of the man on the street interviews, and they ask the questions that people should know the answer to, like, who did we fight in World War II? And these people have no idea. And that's not just the college kids don't have any idea. It's a lot of the older people don't have any idea. So what happened?
Right.
I think you were taught that, Mark and Dennis.
Hey, yeah, Dennis, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Who did we fight in the War of Independence? And then we're going to go to our next break. But just who were we fighting in the War of Independence?
Well, it wasn't El Salvador, I can tell you that. See, so we became an independent country from the people we escaped from. So that would be Britain, wouldn't it be?
Yeah, that would be. Britain would be world.
Britain.
Would be world
Hey,
revolution.
Yeah, and
1812 would be not Canada.
yeah. All right, on to the next break. When we come back, we are going to talk about Crossfire Hurricane.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not even going to bring Jasmine Crockett up. Dennis, do you want to pick a song?
Oh no, go ahead, Mark. Pick one. I didn't look yet.
One
All right,
Johnny
I
Cash's.
got the next one. It's about 4
Thistle
minutes. When we
Flag.
come back, we're going to talk about Crossfire Hurricane.
That desert sun, it burns my eyes. It burns your picture in my mind. It brings the chaos that I find. Feels like I'm running out of time. Silence of the night. I've got to ride 100 miles. 100 days on that front line. Feels like I'm running out of time.
The station where our veterans' voices are heard, MBR Talk.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. Welcome, Quack.
Program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
The web at mbradio.com.
All right, guys. I want to talk about Trump ordering the release of the Crossfire Hurricane files. This is something that I think is a evolution from out and outright assassinations. That the last assassination of a president was John F. Kennedy. The last attempted assassination of a president, sitting president, was Ronald Reagan. And we are looking at now what is not a physical assassination, although they did convince a couple of people that are brainwashed to legitimately destroy and kill a president and at the time a president candidate. We have a unique challenge right now. The federal government that was originally led by President Barack Obama instigated a spying operation on the then Trump campaign, and then they expanded it to the then Trump presidency. They used falsified data to create FISA warrants. They literally and figuratively did everything they could to remove a sitting president of the United States. What would that be? What would the forcible removal of a president done by nefarious acts? What's that called? Anybody?
Oh, the start of a civil war here.
Wasn't talking about. Yeah, I'm talking about. They accused one side for
That's called an
the past
insurrection.
5 years of an insurrection and of an attempted coup. All the while, behind closed doors, in a shadow-like manner, they were doing exactly that. And I can't wait for these files to be released, because when they're released, I can't wait to read them. I am more interested in them than I am in JFK, RFK, and MLK, because it shows how they evolved in their execution and the way they were acting and what they were trying to accomplish.
I'll tell you what I'm excited about is, when they finally stop talking about, well, they got the goods on this guy and that girl and whatever, but nobody's getting arrested.
Well,
that we need to start seeing something, because that's getting a little annoying.
And I agree with you on that. I tend to be more patient than most people.
Well, understanding the way the rule of law works and the way they go after everything that Trump does, I think you'll find that the reason there aren't any arrests yet is because Pam Bondi and the rest of the Department of Justice that are loyal to Trump are crossing every T and dotting every I in everything that they're planning on bringing against people.
Right.
Because otherwise they won't have a chance. And yes,
Okay,
it's very frustrating.
So let's talk about that. If we're going to have a timeline, and I see a lot of posts on social media being very critical of the Department of Justice and of Pam Bondi and of Kash Patel, not so much Dan Bongino, but they are, and I also think we need to be real about the other side was doing the equivalent of throwing spaghetti noodles at the wall and hoping that some of them stuck, which of course we're now finding out none of them were going to stick because Trump didn't break any laws. So we need to realize that when one side is acting impulsively like that, you want to do the opposite of that. There is a requirement to make sure everything is covered. I would ask Americans to wait and Jesse Kelly and I are definitely not on the same page with this. He is move fast, move fast, move fast, move hard. And while I understand what his sentiment is, if you move fast and you miss something, you're allowing them to walk. Yeah, you're setting a precedent because you're indicting people. I'm telling you, Schiff should be one of the first ones indicted, followed by Liz Cheney, followed by the other Republican that was on that J6 board, followed by Nancy Pelosi for her decision making on January 6th, 2021 or 2021. They all need to be handled, but you have to do it the right way. I want to see them in jail. I don't want to just see them indicted. I want to see them indicted, tried, and imprisoned. They violated their oath of office. They betrayed their country, period.
Not to mention Ilhan Omar and all them too.
Well, yeah, Omar. Yeah, yeah, but I just want Omar to go back to Somalia.
Well, me too. Yeah. Go ahead,
the problem lies with the in getting enough indictments clear and clean enough. And Trump has got so many irons in the fire. He's fighting on so many fronts. It can't all be done at once. And I understand everybody's frustration. They just don't realize it's only been, 4 months?
Agreed.
5
and
months?
And therein lies the problem, or shall I call it the challenge? The challenge of getting people to calm down and take a breath. I want exactly what they want, but I don't want these people to be able to slip through anything. I don't want a loophole that they can or cannot use. I want when Bondi files those indictments, I want the announcement of those filings to be through a thorough and legal investigation. We have found the following individuals were guilty of insurrection and sedition through their actions by, and then here's the list of charges. Here's what we know. And I don't even, at this point in time, I don't like saying it like this, but I don't even care what the mainstream media has to say about Trump collusion, Russia collusion, because we already know how bad of a garbage lie that was. The sad thing is there are still a lot of people who will stand out there and will bang on that drum. He colluded with the Russians. He is Putin's puppet. Last time I checked, he ain't nobody's puppet. It's terrible that we have to talk like this about other Americans when it's completely unnecessary. We as Americans should be bent completely out of shape over the way our fellow Americans have been treated and how we can fix this. I mean, the sad thing is, and I don't know how you guys feel, but how hard is this to fix?
And the other problem is Biden giving everybody those pardons. And I think that's the other thing that's holding them back. I think they're trying to figure out how to prove that Biden, A, was not in charge, which we know he wasn't, and B, that doesn't make the pardons legal. That is a start.
I think I think they are figuring that out. I don't think any president can file a preemptive pardon when there's been no charges. I'm going to read the Constitution specifically about presidential pardons because I think it's something that needs to be examined. What constitutes the need for a pardon. It would be a person who is having their sentence commuted by the president. A pardon is something that you had to have been charged with something to be pardoned for something. So that's
preemptive pardon implies guilt.
Right. It implies they were already guilty, therefore they're getting protection.
Before
all right.
anything ever even happened to them.
We're moving on to our last song, our last break, and the next thing we're going to talk about are the number of injunctions that have been filed against Trump by these courts versus Bush, Obama, and Biden. We'll be back in about 2 minutes.
We interrupt regular programming to bring you the special report.
Somewhere little children cry as their parents say goodbye, bound for a land far away. When they'll return they just can't say, to this place where wise men walk, in a world where men won't talk. Can't help but see the irony, making war to keep the peace. Oh God, I hate this whirling dust. Don't wanna be here, but I must. Lord, I do not want to die, and that's the reason why I'm trusting in the sentry in the sky. Events have gone awry. Can't change the world, but I've gotta try. Under eastern stars I pray, keeping low and hoping for better days. Oh God, I hate this swirling dust. To you, my love, I miss you much. Wipe a tear from your eye, I'll see you by and by, 'cause I'm trusting in the sentry in the sky. I'm trusting in the sentry in the sky. I'm trusting in the sentry. I'm trusting in the sentry in the sky.
The station where our veterans' voices are heard, MBR Talk.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. Welcome, Quack.
Program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
The web at mbradio.com.
All right, guys, last segment, and we will get on with our Easter Sunday. I don't know what the heck that sound is.
Sorry, that was on my end.
Hey, we weren't lying when we said raw, live, and uncensored. So, right. Before we get started with this, what are you guys doing for Thanksgiving? I'm going to my in-laws' house. I'm making quiche. I'm much better prepared from the first time I made it, because the first time I made it, I made some mistakes. Still tasted good, just made some errors.
It's still scrambled eggs.
At the end of the day, it's still baked scrambled eggs.
I'm sure it was good.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's going to be spinach, mushroom. It's got bacon in it, and I'm much better prepared. I did prep work prior to going in. Dennis, what do you got going for Easter? You better have bought some Easter candy.
Oh yeah, that's probably what I'm going to do. Is I'm going to watch a lot of reruns of MASH probably, and eat a lot of Easter candy.
I watched The Passion of the Christ this morning, so yeah.
I saw that the other day. I recorded it actually.
Yeah, you can get it. It's actually on Netflix too, man. So
yeah.
Cool. Mom, what do you got going today?
Sitting at home.
Yeah, I thought Dana and Monica were coming over.
No, they weren't coming over. They invited me to go over there. They were going to come and get me, but we went out last night, and I have plenty of leftovers, and I don't feel like going over there.
Okay, all right, and that
'Cause they
includes
got a full
over.
house.
That includes coming over to my mom and dad's.
Probably not.
All right. Well, hey, the invitation's there, so we'll go from there.
Well,
All right.
It's just too much of a mess, and I got, gearing up for surgery on Wednesday. So
Right. My mom is going into surgery to fix a hernia, so that she can breathe again when she eats, which is why she's on oxygen. So hopefully it'll clear that up and fix it, and that would be a good thing.
Well,
all right.
Sending you my prayers, Phyllis. Sending you my prayers.
All right. So let's get into this nationwide injunctions against recent presidents. Bush, who served for 8 years, only had 6 lower court injunctions levied against him. Obama, in his 8 years, had 12. Biden had 14. And what's funny about Biden's is most of his were to combat his desire to forgive the education loan forgiveness. That's what most of those injunctions against him were. I think there were a couple others for the Biden for the border, which we knew it didn't matter. They didn't care. And I think there were a few injunctions concerning his obscene environmental, crazy, insane Green New Deal crap. But let's talk about how many Trump has had. In his first term alone, he had 64 injunctions levied against him. Thus far, I don't know how many he's had already ruled against him so far this year, but I know it's been a lot. It seems like there's a new injunction every single day. I think that the Constitution is pretty clear on the lower courts and their abuse constitutionally of the current administration. They are trying to handcuff him at every turn. And it goes right back to, it's not who, it's what. A lot of these injunctions were ignored with the aforementioned presidencies. And I mean out and outright ignored. So when we talk about these injunctions, and yeah, I firmly believe that a presidency and a president administration should follow those rules. However, when those rules are not constitutionally valid, then it doesn't matter what the judge says, and it doesn't matter what injunctions. There's no contempt of court when you have no constitutional authority to levy any of this. So I kind of know what you guys are where you guys are at on this, because I personally think it's pretty horrible, and it's a joke. And I kind of want to know where you guys stand.
Yeah, it is a joke. I agree. And last count I saw, I think it was up to like 83 or something like that. I don't know. That was a while ago. It could be more by now, I'm sure. But yeah, total joke, and it's only because of who it is.
And as far as I'm concerned, it points to the fact that we need to revamp the school system or the universities that are turning out these attorneys and DAs and these judges that are so left-wing driven that they've lost sight of the Constitution, because it has absolutely nothing to do with constitutionality.
Well,
they have no power over the president. That's my opinion.
And that's really what we're running into as far as challenges. Let's just kind of call it what it is. Okay, these people are communists. They are socialists. They're communists. They have absolutely no valid reason for doing anything that they're doing. And I say that because if there was a real valid reason, i.e., if Trump was actually stepping on the Constitution of the United States, then you have a leg to stand on. But once again, when you say an oath of office, is your oath of office to the courts, or is your oath of office to the Constitution of the United States and the American people by extension? You're not serving any one of these judges who is putting freezes on immigration policies. They're not serving the interest of the American people. And to sit there and say, well, Trump is a dictator and Trump is this, and you've seen the propaganda pictures of the El Salvadoran prison and those pictures, and then they put them right alongside a Nazi concentration camp. Once again, there's that comparison to Nazi Germany and what they mistakenly call fascism. I kind of giggle at that because the Nazis were a socialist state where everything was about the state. Newsflash, that's what socialism is. Everything goes to the state. The state controls everything. It's exactly what Nazi Germany was. The mere fact that they called themselves fascism and they tried to identify at least superficially as right wing, it was because of Hitler's absolute disdain for Bolshevism, which is extreme left. Make no mistake, the Nazis were extreme left. They were just more openly violent about it. And, we still don't know the extent of Stalin and his bloodshed. I think what's scary is they're being allowed to get away with this. I think that's what is scary. Because what reason do you have other than the fact that it is going to slow down President Trump? And that leads me to ask a question. Are we, when a president nominates a judge, what is the criteria for vetting those judges? I will use Amy Coney Barrett as an example. I don't know that Trump, I'm not sure Trump listened to someone saying she would be a good nominee, because she's been anything but. She seems to be much more left-leaning than what was originally thought.
It's been mentioned that she has been compromised and or intimidated to the point that that's the reason why she's going that way.
Yeah, well,
which would not surprise me.
She should recuse herself from the bench then.
Well, depends upon what kind of coercion they've got on her.
You step down. It takes a lot of stones. Mom, here's the thing. It takes a lot of stones to step away from something for the betterment of the country.
Yes, you're right. She probably should. But that doesn't mean that she is capable of doing so for one reason or another.
It doesn't mean, right, because it takes a degree of integrity and it takes a degree of courage to say, you know what, I'm not going to discuss the why, but I'm stepping down as the Supreme Court. That gives Trump the ability to nominate another one who is more in line with the Constitution. I think that a lot of her rulings as of late are not constitutionally driven. And, I don't always agree with Justice Roberts, but I will say this. I believe that most of what his rulings are, liking them or not liking them, are constitutionally driven. That's just my opinion watching his rulings. Once again, it's okay to have dissent. Dissent is not necessarily a bad thing. If the end result is a positive, then dissent is actually a really good thing. So these injunctions are completely insane. They are coming from far lower courts, and I think that you're going to see the administration basically start to ignore them, and I think they're going to get support from Pam Bondi in the Department of Justice. That's what I think. So,
a lot of these district judges are nothing more than glorified ambulance chasers anyway.
Oh, agreed.
And
Absolutely.
they don't have, constitutionally, it's already been proven that these district judges are just that. They're a district.
Right.
They do not have any federal say-so whatsoever.
Correct. So how they're being allowed to continue down that road is actually something that needs to be looked at. Yeah. I do believe in the separation of the powers. I believe that all three branches serve a purpose. I just think that right now we've got two branches that are completely out of control and are hell-bent on keeping the one branch from doing anything. And that, in our nation's future, that is a dangerous precedent.
Definitely.
And I think that, and I'll give the president some really, really big kudos for showing the amount of restraint that he has shown concerning all of this. I mean, it must be driving, for a person like Donald Trump, it has got to be driving him completely out of his mind. All right, folks, it is an hour and 2 minutes. We're a little over. What's new? We are going to say goodbye. We'll see you guys next week. We really hope that people can jump on. I try to share the link as much as I can. I will do a better job of that. Please jump on there. We can have up to 6 people. And
I actually found it. Huh.
Yeah, hey, imagine that. Well, it's probably because I got smarter about sharing the link. So here's the thing. We want all comments. We want all open communication. If you are a leftist, if you are a socialist or a communist, and you believe that your values are stronger, I say bring it. I bring it, because I will put my values and the values that I believe in over your values any day of the week. My values are freedom and liberty, and freedom and liberty is ugly. Freedom and liberty is challenging. Freedom and liberty takes work to maintain. Your values are control and power, and those values are not compatible with the United States of America. So, with that being said, God bless you all. God bless the United States of America. Happy Easter, and we will see you guys in 7 days.
Happy
Where's
Easter.
my Easter egg?
I didn't do any Easter eggs. I don't know what to tell you.
Not even a chocolate one for your mother?
I got some chocolate. I got some robin eggs. I'll bring you a small handful of robin eggs.
All right.
All right, we're gonna
have a good day.
Have a good day.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us. Giving our veterans a voice.
What's up, buddy? I got noisy upstairs.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us. Giving our veterans a voice.